Morning to Gerry, as you can see him there. I'm Chris Noon. I'm the project coordinator for the Leeds Awards. You can't see me, which is a good thing, I think. And this morning we have manufacturing engineer Gerry Ward, who's going to give his presentation shortly. But before I pass on to Gerry, I'll just tell you what's going to happen. Gerry will give his presentation, which will last about a quarter of an hour. And then we use the chat facility for the Q&A session. And if any of your pupils have any questions, could you type them into the chat facility? Gerry will then read them out and give his answers. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Gerry, and pass you over.
Okay.
So, as I say, I'll pass you over to Gerry Ward, who is manufacturing engineer at the Lightweight Manufacturing Centre, which I don't know much about, so maybe Gerry can tell us about that. So it's all yours, Gerry.
Okay, no problem. Okay, thanks, Chris. So let me just find out. Let's see. Sorry, I'll be with you in 2 seconds, guys. Okay, can you guys see that all right? Or...
Yep.
Yeah, can you guys see that Lightweight Manufacturing Centre?
Yeah.
You can?
Yes.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Yes, I can hear you, Chris, yeah. So is that me? Is that everyone can hear me now?
Yes,
Hello?
it will be.
Can everyone hear me?
Everyone
okay?
be able to hear me,
okay. Okay, right. Good morning, everyone, and thanks to Chris for organising another session for the primary engineering organisation. So, as Chris said, I am a manufacturing engineer. My background is in Rolls-Royce Aerospace. So most people associate Rolls-Royce with cars, etc. However, I worked, believe it or not, I actually served my time as a mechanic in cars, Rolls-Royce cars and Bentley cars way back. But and then I moved into manufacturing engineering with Rolls-Royce Aerospace. So that was basically producing all sorts of parts and components for the sort of various engines across the board that fly us through the skies safely. Okay, so I now work for Strathclyde University, which is mainly research and development work, which I enjoy very much. Rolls-Royce was a great place to work, but we are producing parts, so the parts are always the same. So I guess you could say your kind of job is always the same. Although I did move about quite a lot in there because I get bored very easily. I'm a Gemini, so Geminis get bored very quickly. Sometimes I think that's a good thing. Sometimes I think it's a bit of a hassle. We're always looking for new ideas and things to do. But I joined Strathclyde University in 2014 at the Advanced Forming Research Centre, where I worked in cold metal forming. So some of you may know what that is, but I dare say most of you won't, because I hadn't heard of it, and I had been an engineer for quite a long time. We went to the research centre. Basically what we're doing is you can squeeze metal so hard, even hard metals, that when you squeeze them so hard they become like putty. I'm sure most of you know what Play-Doh is. So we used to actually use Play-Doh to demonstrate it, and you can actually turn metal into almost like Play-Doh, but without using any heat. And you can then shape and form the material using various techniques. So that's what I worked in as an engineer with the Advanced Forming Research Centre, and I noticed that while I was there was gaps in the way they were doing things. When I say that, what I mean is the way projects were coming into the centre. So I got more and more involved in business development projects. So I was sort of doing two jobs. I was doing business development and also manufacturing engineering, project management. And then the new Lightweight Manufacturing Centre was due to open as another extension of the university. And as you can see, the sort of clues in the title. So we're looking to lightweight composites. Composites are basically lots of materials stuck together. And when you put lots of materials together, they can become very strong. And when you use materials other than metals, it can become lighter. So hence the Lightweight Manufacturing Centre, which is where I work now. And I'm mainly working in a business development capacity here. So mainly bringing projects in, engaging with companies outside of here, telling them what we do and how we can help them. A lot of companies out there have some very, very good ideas, but it's very difficult for them to do anything with those ideas. So that's when they can come to us and we can help them to shape it up and potentially create an actual prototype. A prototype is like the first of something. So so your bike, for example, would have started with a test bike. Some would have made a test bike and then they would have improved it from there. So, so that's what I do, and that's what we do here at Lightweight Manufacturing Centre. Excuse me. So I've just got some slides here. I'm not a great one for putting lots of text up in slides because I get bored reading them myself, and it's me that's written them. So I don't want to bore you guys. So I tend to use pictures a lot. I think a picture paints 1,000 words, as they say. So I prefer to use pictures and talk. Okay, so what is engineering? So I can't hear you guys at the moment, so I'll just keep on talking and you'll get a chance to ask me some questions later. What is engineering? I guess it's according to the dictionary, if you look at down the bottom there, it says the branch of science and technology concerned with the design, building and use of engines, machines and structures. So that's pretty much spot on. It's what an engineer does. You've got all different types of engineers, obviously. You know, I'm a manufacturing engineer, as I said, so I actually make components and we design them, and we also try and improve them too. So engineers is someone who is always willing to learn. There's not one engineer who knows everything. There's a lot of engineers that think they know everything, and I'm sure you'll come across them in your life at some point. But they don't. Okay, so every single day is a school day, I think. So every day I learn something new, and I leave my mind open for that. And I think if you always have an open mind, you'll learn a lot more in life. So you're always observing, looking what people are doing, picking up on it, learning from it. So you learn and you grow and you move on, and you keep repeating that process, and you'll all become very clever individuals.
Gerry,
can I just, yeah.
Gerry, can I interrupt you a second? The school have to go for a break for 5 minutes. Is that okay? Right. Sorry about this.
Yeah, of course.
So
do you want me to? Will I try and finish the presentation? Have I got 5 minutes to finish?
No, they have to go now, I'm afraid. It looks like. So
right, okay.
We'll just hang around for 5 minutes. That's all right.
So will I just stop what I'm doing?
Yeah. Is that okay?
Okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah, no problem.
We can find something else to talk about.
All right. So do you want me to carry on with the presentation? No, or just
no. Leave it till you're back. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Okay. So is that all the skills, Chris, or is it just you and I talking now? Sorry.
Yeah. They've gone for the break now.
So so you've just got the one skill then?
Yeah. There's only
right.
There were 3 registered, and only 1 turned up. That happens. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I know. I can imagine. Yeah. I can imagine as well. Sometimes you get engineers that don't turn up as well.
No.
No.
They always turn up.
Oh, good.
Yeah, no, they are. I always contact them beforehand, and obviously the day before, just to make sure.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I guess it's it's putting the time aside for the youngsters who are going to shape the world, and hopefully they're going to do a better job at it than my generation's done. You know,
our generation, yeah.
Yeah, because we've not been the best, especially sustainment or looking after the planet. It's been quite dreadful.
Yep, very much so.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go. It inconveniences people, so you're not allowed to say that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know. True. I know.
Uh,
I'm just going to go and grab a glass of water then, Chris. Well, I've got a minute.
yeah, brilliant. Yeah.
Cheers. Thanks. Yeah, give me a 2-minute break. Cheers. So, when is it they're back, Chris? Do you know?
5 minutes. So.
Oh, just 5 minutes. All right.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So just a couple more minutes, I think.
No problem.
So time for your water.
Yeah, aye, good, aye. I was going to grab a cup of tea and I thought I better not. How's things going at Prime Engineer? Busy?
Very. Yeah, hugely busy.
Yeah.
So we got 19 regions this year.
Wow.
Which is we're covering everywhere except West Yorkshire, I think, or most of West Yorkshire.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It is kind of crazy. So, but otherwise, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Same old, I think. For
I know. Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, today we've got Beacon Hill, who are from Cumbria.
Mm-hmm.
We also should have had, bear with me a second, they're a secondary school, I should say that.
All right.
We also had a school called Sutton Primary School, who from the central region. I can't remember where they're from now. And also we should have had one from the east region. I think they're in Norfolk. But,
is that right? Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
It's unusual.
So they come from all over the place.
Mm.
A place called Aspatria. That's where Beacon Hill are from.
Aspatria.
Yeah.
Something else says something new every day.
Right back, yeah, Beacon Hill.
Why have I got something that says workshop?
Beacon Hill, are we back? Yeah. Oh. Aspatria, ah. You see that note, Gerry?
Sorry?
You see the note from Beacon Hill?
No. No.
If you look on the chat thing, says Aspatria is how he is pronounced. Ooh,
Ah, right, okay.
sorry about that. Small secondary school, 129 pupils, year 10 pupils watching. They're all doing engineering BTEC in Y10 with
Okay.
the collaboration of local college, Lakes College, Wickington. The whole year group are here, coming back in dribs and drabs. There are about 25 of them now.
Okay. But I'll just carry on from where I left off.
Brilliant. Yeah.
So this, okay.
So, yeah.
Are we good to go now? Or?
I think so, yeah. That's it, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Okay,
Can we start Beacon Hill? Yeah. Yeah, go on, Karen.
Okay. I hope you all. Okay, I think that's me back on. I'm talking anyway. So I hope you all had a decent cup of tea or coffee there. I'm still to get mine. So as I was saying earlier on there, an engineer is someone who obviously has an open mind and you know is ready to listen, not always talk all the time. So you'll get engineers that you'll meet in life who think they know everything, and I can assure you that they don't. I work with plenty of them. So where I work is the University of Strathclyde, but my background is industrial, so that was Rolls-Royce. I was working for a long time, Rolls-Royce Aerospace. So when you bring industry and academia together, it can be a bit of a clash, and that's just because of different approaches to things. So industry, if you think about a treadmill, when you're running on a treadmill, academia runs about a 3 or a 4 on a treadmill because they're doing research. Industry is up about a 9 or a 10. So people from industry tend to want to move forward all the time and get things done very quickly, whereas academia is heavily into its research and why things are done the way they are and all that. And but when you get the mix right and you start working together, it's a very good mix, you know, and it can be very, very effective, especially in research and development and working with the outside organisations. And that's what the Lightweight Manufacturing Centre's for, and also the Advanced Formula Research Centre. We're meant to be in the middle of academia and industry. So it's something that a lot of industrial partners get caught in, is something called the Valley of Death, where they're making a product, but they don't have time to stop production to advance the product. So they keep on making it, but at the same time they're falling behind with research. because their competitors are taking the time out, or they're investing in a research centre to advance their product. So that's where we come in, is to try and pull them out of the valley of death, so to speak, and to help them stay a step ahead of their competitors, and just to keep their products on the market, and obviously sustain the company. So that's where we come into play, is to assist with all of that. Now, an engineer obviously is someone who is, I would say, is a very curious individual, and I would say that's myself from a very, very young age. I used to get things, brand new toys, and smash them to pieces to find out how they worked. And on Christmas Day, I remember my sister got a dolly that could speak, so I sneaked it off into her room and smashed it to bits. On Christmas Day, her doll was in pieces, trying to find out how this thing could talk to me. I was only about 6 years old, but I didn't go down too well, as you can imagine. But as I said, there's lots of different types of engineers. People tend to class engineers in the UK as someone standing in a boiler suit covered in oil with a dirty rag hanging out their pocket. But there's lots of different types of engineers. Obviously, you have manufacturing, which is myself, mechanical engineering, which tends to be more sort of servicing and putting components together. You have aerospace engineers, so guys that are working on space industry. Oil and gas engineers, covers a vast range as well. Software engineers, I stuck in that picture of Fortnite up there. I'm sure most of you recognise that. So that's software engineering. We work very closely with software engineers here too. Not playing games, unfortunately, but creating software where we maybe need to replicate a process. So rather than the company going and buying a big expensive bit of machinery, what they do is they replicate, so they copy the process on a computer, and it makes it a lot cheaper. So the computer can actually show the process, what will happen if they do it, rather than investing maybe millions in a new machine. And obviously you've got Formula One up there, racing teams, naval engineers, agricultural engineers, all sorts of different types. So design, we work very closely with design engineers, and they're obviously very important in this entire process, because something needs to be designed before it's made. You can't just grab a big bit of metal and start making something. You need to design it, obviously, and the more you work with a product, the more streamlined it gets, and the better it gets. That only comes together working as a team. Quite often a design engineer will overcomplicate something when there's no need to do it. So depending on the industry that the component's going into, will determine how tight the tolerances need to be. So by tolerances, I just mean, obviously, if something needs to be 10 centimetres in length, and you can't make it to exactly that size, you need maybe a little bit of give on either side. So it could be 9.99 or 10.01. That's tolerances. But depending on the industry, we'll define the tolerances and just exactly what's needed for that. Now, something that we are working very closely with at this centre is recycling. So I'm pretty sure you're all aware of all the stuff that's going on just now, and a young girl, Greta Thunberg, I think her name is, who's doing a fantastic job basically just showing the world how important it is that we recognise what's going on here. My generation and previous generations have done a very, very poor job at looking after the planet and helping to sustain the planet and its ecosystems. So it's going to be down to you guys and your generations and how this planet develops, because if it keeps going the way it's going, I'm afraid we're in for quite a hard time. And as the poster says there is no planet B. So we can't just get off this bus and jump on our bus and go to another planet. We're stuck with this planet that we're on, and it's a beautiful planet, but we've successfully done a lot of damage to it through just complete ignorance, to be honest. And being involved in research and development, I get access to a lot of very sensitive information. So I don't want to scare you all, but we're at the stage now where we must be doing something about it. And thankfully there are a lot of people out there who are doing a lot about it. but it tends to be the younger generation, so which I'm very grateful for, because, as I said, my generation tends to be taking a back step from it. But there is lots of really great work going on out there with recycling, and it's something that we recognised very quickly when we opened the new lightweight manufacturing centre. So working very closely with composites. I'm sure you're all very aware of the large wind turbine blades that you see, like big windmills. You'll see hundreds of them in the fields and things like that, and they're basically creating renewable energy. Now, I know that they're calling it green energy, but what they're not doing is addressing the end of life of that wind turbine. So these wind turbine blades are made from something called GFRP, which is glass fibre reinforced polymers. Now, it's a horrible material to deal with at the start. It's basically very, very fine glass. And if it gets on your skin, it's very, very irritable. It's horrible stuff. But what they do with that is they mix that with resins. When I say resins, I mean things like glues, and they piece it all together, and then they create these massive wind turbine blades. Now, when these wind turbine blades come to the end of life, what do you do with the blade? I just assumed that these things were recycled or made into something, but they're not. They basically go into landfill. And there's, within the next 5 years, there's going to be about 80 million tonnes at least of GFRP coming off the turbines, and they don't know what to do with them. So we've carried out a very successful project where we took a commercial wind turbine blade, so one of the large ones, we took it and we cut it into very small sections, and then we made it into even smaller sections, and we created a reactor up at main campus, and that meant that we could reclaim the fibres that were inside the wind turbine blade, and we then made a domestic wind turbine blade, so a much, much smaller one. So that's sort of called circular economy, where you can take a component, when it finishes its end of life, you can recycle it and put it back into the same sort of industry again. That's circular economy, which you'll probably hear quite a lot of that if you haven't already. So when it comes to recycling, I'm sure and I hope your schools are doing their bit for it. It's very, very important that we do, because like I said, if we don't, the planet's in for a hard time. So that's pretty much it from myself regarding engineering. I could talk all day on it, but I know we're limited for time. So I'd like to just call the presentation at a halt, and now I can take some questions if there's any. Is that okay, Chris?
That's wonderful, thanks, Gerry. There's already loads of questions. If start
okay.
Well, there's a few.
Okay.
So which companies have you? I'll start you off. Tell us about which companies have you worked for worked with at Strathclyde University? What was the project with them? See
okay. That? So I can't. Can I shut this presentation down now, Chris? Is that okay?
Yeah. Okay,
and
there you go. That's great.
Oh yeah, okay. So I'm starting to see the questions now. Hang on a second. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so at the university we have projects ongoing just now. So I've worked with. So when I used to work for Rolls-Royce and I left them, and then I went to university, I was still working with Rolls-Royce, but not for them. So I've worked with Rolls-Royce on numerous projects in cold metal forming. I've worked with Boeing, I've worked with Spirit Aerospace, Airbus, and most of these projects were around cold metal forming. So that was, as I said, taking metals and squeezing them so hard that you're actually changing the shape and changing the length of them. So we could take a bit of metal, and for example, if that was a piece of metal, we were able to stretch that 300% of its original size. So that's a massive saving in material. So if you think about trying to create a component, a large component, and you've got to machine away all of the excess material, what you can do with cold forming is stretch it out and save a lot of material. Okay, doc. So just give me a wee bit of time here to see some of these questions. Someone's asked, are you using VR? Yes, we are using VR. There's a whole department up at the Advanced Forming Research Centre, and they use VR and AR as well, augmented reality, a lot. So you're saying there is in its infancy? No, it's not. It's really coming on very, very fast. And what it does is, as well as it de-risks a lot of issues for the customer. So like I was saying, rather than going and investing and buying machinery, they can set it up on a VR system to show how it would replicate in real life. Planet B, do you think engineers could have all the answers, or will it mean people changing their attitudes? I certainly don't think engineers have the answers. No, absolutely not. I think the answers will come from people like yourselves, to be honest. Sometimes engineers can overcomplicate things when a situation is put in front of them. They can think too much like an engineer when actually the answer is really simple. So I would think that the people who will change the planet are most likely not going to be engineers. It's going to be people like yourselves looking at things with a fresh set of eyes. AR, is augmented reality, which is quite similar to VR. And people will need to change their attitudes. Yeah, absolutely. I think that all comes down to education levels as well. Unfortunately, I know a lot of the issues that we're having are people at home. So I think parents not educating their children about the importance of recycling and the importance of looking after the planet. Everybody thinks, well, someone else will do that. Someone else will do that. I don't need to bother about recycling. But in fact, unfortunately, a lot of people are thinking like that. So if you put all that together, you're talking millions and millions of people thinking like that. So we all need to change our attitude. How long did you work at Rolls-Royce for? The first time was about 5 years, and then I left engineering. Like I said before, I'm a Gemini and I get bored very easily. So I left engineering. I had a long gap from engineering, and I was all over the place. Travelled, lived in Asia for a while, came back, and then went back into engineering. So I worked. Then I went back to Rolls-Royce about 8 years, working for them. Why did you become an engineer? And would you still do it if you could start again? Yes, I would. Yeah, because being an engineer is, I like to see results. I don't like to waste time. I've got a sort of a can-do attitude. Sometimes a wee bit too much can-do, and I like to get things done quickly. But like I was saying before, when you work at the university, in academia can work at quite a slow pace, and that can take quite a bit of getting used to. But I've been here now for about 5.5 years, so I'm starting to get used to it. But one thing that I noticed I was very interested in when I started working at Rolls-Royce was materials. So I like to understand how things are made. For example, if you look at an aircraft engine, there's so many different components in there, and they're all made from different materials. And I used to wonder why are they all so different. So it's yeah, I think it's really important to be involved in that sort of thing. But so I'm just reading these questions here as I'm talking. Why? Yeah, I like metallurgy. So that's where I was going with that. So I like to know how materials are made. You know, why does that specific material go into that part of the engine? And it's all to do with heat normally in an engine, because it gets very hot in there. So you can't just stick any old material in it. It's got to be very cleverly engineered. So I would like to, if I was to go back in time, I'd like to study more metallurgy, which is the study of metals and alloys. In your left school, did you know you wanted to be an engineer? I guess I did a little bit, yeah, because I wanted to. I was a car enthusiast. I was a petrol head, so I loved cars, like most young people, I think. I was stripping mine down every other week and trying to make it go faster, basically. I think all to make it go slower. Yeah, maybe not an engineer, but I was always involved in mechanics, stripping engines down, and then eventually I did get into engineering when I left mechanics, yeah. Tyler asks, why we recycle? Or why do we recycle? Yeah, so to look after the planet, because if we don't recycle all the plastic, all the composites of most of the things that you use and see every single day are all made from plastics or composite materials, and they never break down. When I say break down, I mean they never rot and go away. So when they go into the ground and left there, they're there forever, and the animals try to eat them, they can't eat them. they try to swallow them, they can't digest them. So not only are we making the place look ugly, but we're also affecting animals too, innocent animals, you know, who have every right to be in this planet as much as we do. Are you based in a design room or a workshop? And do you get to be hands-on making things? Yes, all of that. So I work, as I say, I'm a manufacturing engineer. I work in project management, but I also work in business development. So I get to go out a lot, and I get to meet a lot of people. So one of my jobs is to create networks for collaboration. Collaboration just means like what we're doing right now, for example, all the different schools that Chris has brought together for primary engineering. That's a collaboration where we've all got together and we're all talking about engineering. So I do that with engineering projects. So I try to, if someone wants to make something new, what I'll do is I'll look into my network of the people that I know, and I'll find out who the best people are to be involved in that project. So I kind of work all through that, and I also get to be hands-on, but not quite as much as I used to be. So I do more of that stuff at home. I'm a biker, I've got a motorbike, so I strip that down every other week. Have you done live links like this before, or is it a new thing for you? Do you do similar links with companies that are based far away? I've done 2 before. It might not seem like it, but yeah, I've done 2 before, and both with primary engineer. And I've done similar things, yes, but I've not done it remotely like this. It's normally when they come into the centre. I deal with the schools directly. I try and coordinate the visits and the tours and things like that. Are new recyclable composites being developed? Yes, they are. So that was a project that we worked on with the commercial wind turbine blade, where we got the blade from one of the large manufacturers, and they donated that to us, and we then cut it down into very small pieces. When I say small pieces, I mean like 2 by 2 inch cubes, and we made a small scale reactor up at main campus, so up at the university itself, working with an organisation there called the Advanced Composites Group, who are a bunch of extremely clever people. And with them, we put the cubes into the reactor, which used heat. And what the heat did was it burned off all of the resin. So the resin was like the glue, which is part of the matrix of all of the components. So we think about a big bowl of soup and throwing in all your different vegetables and things like that. What the reactor did was it burns away all the water and leave you just with the ingredients. So once you've got those ingredients, you can use them again. But when you burn something to claim it back, you find that it tends to be quite dirty after that, because you've obviously not set it on fire, but you've used heat to reclaim it. So what you need to then do is wash it up, as they call it, and the university guys up there, they patented a process. So they created a process that they own worldwide, so no one else can use this process to clean up the properties of the material. And and that was then fed into a domestic wind turbine blade. We're actually now carrying out a second project on that to compare the recycled blade to a blade that you could just buy off the shelf, say, and to see what the difference is. One thing we noticed very quickly was that the recycled blade was almost 2 kilograms lighter. So that was quite interesting, but the project's not started yet, but it's due to kick off in the next month or 2. Okay, doc. So I'm not seeing any more questions here. Let me go back a bit, see if I missed any.
I don't think you did.
No. Quiet bunch, guys.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Is the recycled blade just as strong as the original?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's what we're going to be finding out. So, because of the demand now for virgin fibre, as they call it, so virgin glass fibre, the cost of virgin fibre at the moment is very cheap. So when we reclaim the fibres back, it's a very expensive process, also because it's at its infancy. So when you're doing something for the first time, it tends to take you a long time, and there's a lot of unknowns in there. So when we develop this process further, which we're hoping to do, we'll be able to reduce the cost and make it more comparable. So almost the same as virgin fibre. But what we're also expecting is, because the demand for virgin fibre is getting so high, the price is going to increase, because the companies who make it will then they'll know how desperate people are to buy this material, so they'll increase the cost, and then that might make people look more towards the recycled material, which then the cost will start to sort of level out. So that's what we're hoping for. So that's a really good question. Is it just as strong as original? So when we reclaimed it and we carried out the tests, we found that the tensile strength had dropped considerably. So when I say the tensile strength, what I mean is when you take something and you basically pull it apart in a linear direction. So just basically try and pull that apart. That's tensile strength. We noticed that the tensile strength had dropped a lot. So, and that wouldn't be good for anyone. So that's when the university developed the solvent process. So they put the blades through this washing up process, and when they do that, it reclaimed most of the tensile strength back. So the recycled fibre is almost as strong as the virgin fibre now. So yeah. How do you test that the blade will be strong enough? So there's lots of... I've frozen, someone said there. Is it still frozen?
You haven't frozen this end.
Is it okay now? Oh, just keep on talking.
Okay.
Sorry. So how do you test that the blade will be strong enough? So another good question. So doing the tensile testing, they also do a bend test. So they basically take it, if that's your blade, and they apply force here, and here. So they just bend it and to see at what point it will break. And obviously from there, that's me back. All right, good. Sorry if you missed that. I was just talking about different tests for checking the integrity. So testing how strong a blade is after we've recycled it. As I say, that project's just about to kick off. So that would be a good question to give the answers to in maybe a few months' time, once the project's complete. We are expecting things not to be quite so good with the reclaimed blade, because it's the first time that we've done it. But there's always room for improvement, so we're always looking to obviously improve things. I said recycling is something we acknowledged very quickly when setting up the centre. When we were approached to be involved with this, we had to sit down with our bosses, basically, and say to them, if we open this centre and we don't address recycling, we're just becoming part of the problem, whereas we should be part of the solution. So they bought into that, and it's now one of our main focuses here at the Lightweight Manufacturing Centre, based up just near Glasgow Airport, which is also part of a much bigger project called NMIS. I don't know if you can see my top there. So it's the NMIS, National Manufacturing Institute for Scotland, and it's a very large project involving the Scottish Enterprise, Scottish Government and the University of Strathclyde, where just next to the Glasgow Airport they're building a very fancy new research centre, which will have state-of-the-art technology in it, looking at VR, AR, augmented reality, and medical research, recycling research. It's going to have a skills centre, so working with an organisation called SDS, Skills Development Scotland. So they'll be also involved in that project, and they'll be shaping up how best to deliver this training programmes for about, I think the development centre is going to be capable of holding about 300 people. So a very, very large project. What's been your favourite project? It's a good question. I've been involved in quite a lot. So if we're talking about work here, I would say probably it was it's something called a flow forming project, but I was project lead on that, and it was with a company called Safran, who you probably never heard of before, but they're actually one of the biggest companies in the world. And they produce all the landing gear. So most of the landing gear you see in aeroplanes, the wheels coming out, they're mostly made by Safran. So we had to create components for them. And they asked us, basically they gave us a set of requirements, and we managed to surpass. So we actually achieved better than what they were hoping for. So that was good. And it was also good for me because I was project lead. Yeah, so that was one of my favourite projects, and it lasted about 6 months. Why did you move on from Rolls-Royce? Impressed with Rolls-Royce, yeah. I guess, like I was saying, Rolls-Royce make the same components all the time, and depending on what section you're in, you can be going in every single day and pretty much doing the same thing. So I did that for a number of years, but I also moved about the factory. So I worked in the labs. So that's actually analysing. So when you're going to make a component, you can't just make it and then stick it in an aeroplane. Obviously, that's quite dangerous to do that. So you need to do a lot of tests on that component first. You've got to check its strength, its how it stands against heat. So working in the labs, they check all that. So I worked here for about 18 months. But the reason why I moved on from Rolls-Royce was basically because I'd been there for 8 years. That's a long time for me. Longest I'd ever been with someone before that was about 6 years. As I said, I get bored quickly, so I've got to move on. I like to be challenged a lot. Is there another engineering company you'd like to work with or for? Yeah, I like working with small organisations too. It's not always about the big guys. So working at the research centre, we're lucky enough that we get the opportunity to do that. So we get to work with smaller companies that are really needing help. They don't have the resource, so they don't have the people to help them. They don't have the money. Most of all, it comes down to money. To start a project, for example, at the AFRC or LMC, it costs thousands and thousands of pounds. So we try and help them with that, to fund that. We try and get money for them, but sometimes we're not able to do that. So would I leave here and go to work for another engineering company? I don't think so. Possibly, if the terms were right. Personal question: how much do you earn? Feel free to give a ballpark. Okay. So, well, that's a really good question. So I've never chased money for jobs. I've always tried to chase a sort of life balance. So when I worked at Rolls-Royce, I was earning very, very good money in there because I was working early shift, back shift and night shift, sometimes for years at a time. And you get very good money for that. But my balance in life in general was not the best, because I just felt as though I was working all the time, and I had nice cars, nice house, etc. But I still wasn't that happy with what I was doing outside of work. So when I left Rolls-Royce, I took a pay cut. So when I went to university, I took a pay cut of £15,000. So I won't say what I was earning in Rolls-Royce, but when I went to university, I was earning £15,000 less. So, but now that I'm working for the university and I've progressed in here too, so I've moved on a little bit, and I've been sort of promoted, if you want to call it. I'm now earning better money, not as good as I was at Rolls-Royce, but I only work now. I work a 4-day week, so I do Monday to Thursday. I work 8 till 6, so that's quite a long day, you might think, and it is. But I get every Friday off, so for me that's worth more than going into work for another day, because I've got a young family. I've got 3 young daughters, so on a Friday I get to take them to school and pick them up from school, and I get proper quality time with them. So money's never been my main drive, to be honest. And what I would say is, if you do chase money and you go for the whole money thing, you might find that, not everyone, but you might find that you're not that motivated at your work, because if you're motivated by money, that can only last for so long. If you best thing to do is to get into something that you're passionate about, and something you enjoy. And as they say, if you get a job you enjoy, you'll never work a day in your life. But and I've also got a lot of interests outside of here too. So I run my own organisation called Fire and Peace. So I work with people and I help them to reconnect with nature again. So if I was working all the time, I wouldn't be able to do that outside of here. So I like to try and give back some of my spare time when I'm not working as well. So so yeah, it's not for some people it's all about the money. For me, it's not, never has been. But we certainly need money to live. There's no doubt about it. It's just how much do you need? You know, you buy a Ferrari. Do you want a Lamborghini next? What kind of car do you drive, and what's your favourite kind of car? Yeah, good shout. Okay. So at the moment, I drive a Toyota Hilux pickup, which is like a big truck. And the reason I've got that is because of the business that I was just telling you about, the Fire and Peace business. So I take people into the wilds of Scotland, and I reconnect them with Mother Nature again. Some people who are maybe not quite so well. So we do all that sort of stuff. But we're just in the middle of becoming a charity just now. So we'll be able to apply for funding, and then we'll be able to get our own van through funding. So that car's going back. And what I'm looking into now and what I've signed up for is a Tesla. A Tesla Model 3, so as they call it, the affordable one. So I'm looking forward to giving that a go. So an electric car, it's a 2-year lease deal. So I'm looking forward to getting a Tesla, which was meant to be last month, meant to be this month. Now I'm told it's November. But I'm well aware that Tesla have, they're over-promising and under-delivering on this one. But we'll see what happens. So quite looking forward to that. And seeing what it's like not to have a fuel bill. I do 80 miles a day to get to work and back. So I live in a small village in Stirlingshire, which is quite far away from Glasgow, but it's a very small village, a quiet village, and I don't mind the drive so much. I'm starting to mind the diesel bill though every month. It's not small, and it puts a lot of miles in the car too. So see how I got on with a zero fuel bill. Okay, so I hope you're all. I think Chris was saying that there's a secondary school as well, and so I hope these questions haven't been too sort of generic for you. If you ever want to ask more sort of specific stuff regarding engineering, certainly just get in touch through Chris, and I can answer any questions or do another sort of call for you if there's anything you're wanting to do, or if you guys are ever up this neck of the woods, I can organise any visits for you, either at the Lightweight Manufacturing Centre or at the Advanced Forming Research Centre. So that'll give you an opportunity to actually see the processes and get a better understanding of how things work. I could talk about it all day here and bore you all to death, but when you actually see something working with your own eyes, your own mind will interpret it the best way for you to understand it. So, so yeah, it's busy. It's a busy place here. It's I work harder here than I did at Rolls Royce. As I said, I work for less money, but the job's more enjoyable. There's more variety. No 2 days are the same. They're never the same. Doing things like this, for example, when I can, and we deal with so many different aspects. We can get inquiries in every single day, and they can range from making stuff to help people get off a toilet seat, which we had just the other week there, to a part for a spaceship. So that's the variety that we're working with. So you can imagine that your engineering knowledge needs to go quite a long way, but it can be very interesting work as well. So that's why it's always good. If you're going to be a good engineer, you need to be a good listener. And to listen to the guys that know what they're talking about, but never be afraid to ask questions, no matter how silly it sounds. All the best inventors in the world and all the entrepreneurs in the world, so all the guys like Elon Musk, all these guys, Richard Branson, Virgin, these guys ask questions all their life, and no matter how silly they sound. So don't be afraid to ask questions ever. It's the only way you'll ever get the answer. Okay, doc. There's 2 minutes to go. If I knew any good jokes, I would tell them, but I don't. So yeah, thanks very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed that. As I say, if you need anything else, just get in touch with Chris and I'll do my best to answer them. Okay, doc. I'm now going now. I've got another. I had a meeting at 9 o'clock this morning till 10:30, and then I had you guys, and now I've got a meeting from 11:30 to 12:30, and then my car's getting in the garage, and I've got a meeting from 2 o'clock until 5 o'clock. So lots going on. Yeah, but it's a quick day. There's nothing worse than coming to your work, and every 15 minutes or half an hour you're looking at the clock. I'm sure that's how it feels at school for some of you guys. I remember school being like that. I wasn't the best pupil, should we say, at school. But if I could turn back the time, I would have definitely tried harder at school. I had to do all my work later on in life, which I wish I had done when I was at school. So yeah, listen to your teachers, guys. I had to say that, but so that's pretty much from me. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your week, and maybe see you all again at some point. Okay, doke. Cheers, folks. Bye bye.